Archer gang, huh! Today in this video, we are going to talk about my experiences here in KvK Season 4 LK number 1. I said this is the most anticipated KvK, and yes it is, and this is a proven fact. What happened in here is that the old kingdom had lost to the newer kingdom. Now, I'm going to talk about from the beginning, and I don't really have a script today, and don't really have the best intro, but I just kind of want to walk through this. If you guys want to take a time to listen to what happened in here in our KvK, it might shed light to you guys in the future if you guys are getting into the KvK Light and Darkness, right? So, first of all, let's talk about my honors in here. So in the beginning, there's not a lot of fighting, right? There's a lot of farming. I didn't farm way early into the game. I was farming resources instead of barbarians. So if you are going for the honor roll, skip that past glory event. Really just grind it out, use your daily AP. I would say use approximately maybe 10 or 20% of your action point during that period of time. You don't know how long your war is gonna be. So for us, it took about 10 days before our war just ended, and then that's a total grind for barbs. If it lasted for a much long time, and you won't have a lot of time to grind barbs. So once you get into the next stage in here, you need to start grinding barbs, right? So once you've entered the second stage, which is I'd say zone 2 of the Light and Darkness, that's the time you should at least use a good amount of portion of your AP, get into the holy sites. So this is a good tip for you guys. If you guys are in this area, the zone 1, go into the holy sites. Usually the higher barbs are in there, and same as in zone 2 in here. You know, grind it out in here, find the higher barbs. I would say consume at least maybe another 20 or 20% of your AP. But once you get into the zone 3, the matcha area, for my area here, this is the time where I would suggest to drain out all your action point right away. Now, the reason why we're draining out a little bit of AP from each stage is because you don't know how far the war is going to be, and you don't know how much time you have. Now, if you have a lot of time in the third zone, then I would recommend to really use all your action point in there. I really use a bulk of my AP in here. Starting out the KvK, I had about 321k AP, and my current points right now is at 755k. Now, keep in mind, we don't really have ruins in here. I did maybe 2 or 3 ruins in the altars, but we don't have the ruins access. We were at a loss in here, so we don't have access to that. So it's definitely difficult. And now we also lost a circle that provides me some action point recovery, so we don't have the circle anymore. That's 20% AP. Now, that's my part, okay? So if you're grinding barbs, that's going to be very helpful for you if you're trying to compete for honor points. Now, I wish I donated a little bit more on past glory, so that's one of my regret as well. I've been buying gems for AP. The highest one I've gotten is about 1,250, I think. So it's quite expensive. Just keep that in mind. Though you get a lot of gems anyway by defeating barbs, but where is the justification of it, really, right? So if you really want to grind out for that skin, then that's worth it. Like I said, I wish I donated more in past glory, and because the AP really gets really high at this point. Okay, so that's the honor system. If you're competing, that's my tip for you guys. And if you have a lot of time, definitely do barb chaining. So let's talk about what you need to do here for technology. I believe the most important in here really in the beginning is get your rejuvenation, because you want to grind it out. For gathering, I would say just get the bare minimums. I don't really know what is the threshold for here to move on to the next one. Swift stride, I think, is very important. Proficiency, I think this is just get the bare minimum. You definitely need to work on your troop buffs in here. I'd say really focus on infantry, cabs, and archers. These are very important. You got to understand what is the most common rallies and defend you're going to be doing within your kingdom or your camp. Honestly, you should be talking to other camps and decide on the best path forward on this one. In my opinion, these are more important. These 3 or these 6 in here, as well as this troop attack. So this 7 in here is the most important one. Now, you're gonna say no, combustion is very important, and harden. I would say yes, they're more important, But understand this one. If you cannot even burn an enemy or their flag, right? What's the point of your combustion? So if you can't even burn them, there's no point. Harden is very important. You have to defend, but if you can defend well with your stats in here and you don't manage to burn, then what's the point of the durability? But you have to take it at a grain of salt, right? These are still important. I would still add them, but maybe about 15 maybe, or I wouldn't really go way too much into that because you're wasting a lot. Maybe even 13 as well, just 13 for the stats of this to skill, and then hone on the stats for the what is it called, the troops. Focus on that one instead. Looking into our opponents, I believe they had way better stats than us when we were at war. Some of them are almost like maxed out during that time. Definitely they had way more players as well. They grinded out very well, but in my opinion, if you are in a status where our camp was, I would say I wished we would have focused a lot more into the stats. We had a very difficulty in burning flags of our opponent, so pretty much this combustion was pretty useless in my opinion, right? I would say the harden, was a little bit better, but if you're really getting beat up in there, what's the point, right? You're gonna end up giving up the flag. So I'd say for me, my opinion, and you guys may have a different opinion in here on the chat in the comment section below, let us know as well. Everybody has their own different opinions in here, but for me, I think this is the most important. These 7 is definitely crucial. Now the siege, yes, I'd say is important as well, but not as important as these 3 in here. Keep in mind that you will still use your siege if you are doing a Wuchutian and dumping your siege into that one. So part 3, let's talk about the ruins in here. Now whenever your ruin starts to fight, like you know what, let me be honest with you guys. These guys, the 47, they're tough. Okay, so we were with them. They're fun to play with. They're very difficult and they're eager to win. And let me tell you this: if your kingdom cannot survive the ruins, I would say you have to rethink your strategy coming into the King's Land. In my opinion, from my experience, they really dominated all the ruins, and we weren't really able to dominate the ruins. They didn't capture the ruins really per se. I think they did at one point in here on the top one, but for the IF area, I don't think they did. I might be wrong, but it was a hell of a fighting. But they were much more than us. We weren't able to really dominate them. You have to rethink your kingdom power during that time. So the ruins is a real testament of how strong your kingdom is in controlling open field. So that's gonna give you a big sign, because whatever you see in the ruins fighting is gonna translate whenever you are in the Kingsland. So whenever we were in Kingsland, we did saw the presence of them is way much more than us. They had way more players out there, and it's just insane. So okay, moving on. So in part 4, once you are in Kingsland, here's my process here that I think that we kind of made a mistake on, is that we weren't really able to build straight shot, right? Our building was kind of like straight and then kind of teed off a little bit to the left because we were trying to block them off in here on the side. If my opinion is, I think it would have been much better if we were moving straight shot and connecting with the 93 straight shot as well. If we were managed to connect straight shot over there, we would have a few defensive points, but we would have to build flags around it also. Make sure that whenever you're starting to build the flags, is that you want to have to activate your skill in your alliance as well, which is which one is that? I think that one is a skillful craftsman. All right, so that's very important. I think we didn't do it, or we did it very late, so it has to be on the very first flag. Now, my approach in here is to do a straight shot, right? When you have to connect with your ally, and then you just need to start working with your ally. Now, it does take time for them to build as well, but once you are able to have a bigger foothold into the Kingsland, the goal is to have as much flag as you can, because then you can teleport more players and you can maneuver much better. For us, what happened is that we got trapped in this area. We were blocked by them right away. So they really blocked us right in this area. You can see this gray area. They blocked us over here. I believe if we were able to manage to build straight shot, right? You got to keep in mind, we have 2 alliances in here, right? One can build straight shot and one can be a block. And that's my opinion. I think that would have been a much better approach. But as well as you don't know what's gonna happen, it's easier to say right now since the KvK is pretty much over. Um, of course, our opponent will have a counterplay as well. But I think once you're able to do a connecting with your allies, it's gonna be a much easier. Um, in our allies in here on the side, they could have done the same, or we could have either done like connecting. We were side by side in here. We could have slowly built a flag into the other side to help them as well, and just secure this area, and then have one alliance in here blocking. Trying to fight this one off, and then even if they're fighting with two, but if we can manage to seal this off, this area, and conquer this area, and then they can start helping us, the blue, which is they're pretty much gone in this area, to fight over there. But I mean, there's a lot of different plays in here, but I think the main goal in here is that whenever you get into the King's Land, the most important thing in here is to grab a foothold, because for what happened to us, like I mentioned, we didn't have a lot of land. Defending a flag without land is very, very difficult because you don't have cities in there. And then what's going to happen as well is that you're going to be sharing the pass, and you know how difficult that is. You have to conquer the pass and then release the pass so that the other alliance can take over. So it was a very difficult spot for us in here. I think the kingdom did their best in here. It was a very difficult, very tough position for us. I mean, they're, just gotta say it, the 47 were way much stronger than us. We lost from that. They had way much active presence as well. Seems like they were so much more united as well, because they had 4 different alliances fighting us as well. So they have a lot of T5 as well, gotta say that. I think in our T5, a lot of people in our T5 players didn't really show up. If you have seen some of our battle reports in there, you would see a lot of T5 players from the 47. Now, if you haven't checked out our videos in here, we have KvK Season 4 playlist. Make sure to check that one out if you haven't catch back up. So as of today, we have I'm editing the part 11 of the KvK. So if you haven't catch back up from part 1 to part 11, make sure to check out our playlist for that one. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of small guidance in here for KvK, just an overview of what I think. If you're a free-to-play player, definitely you have to support the rallies if you want to win, right? You got to support the rallies. You got to be an open field. For the leaders, I would suggest to have a group of people or players that are dedicated on pressing help during war. So I did a video on unlimited healing, so make sure to watch that video because you can really save up a lot of healing speed up, especially for free to play. So check that one out. It's uploaded already. The great thing about here is that if you're free to play, you can fight in the open field. Definitely, we need your help to fight in the open field, right? Your presence. Don't drain out yourself on the defending, right? Defending and rallying. As a free to play, you don't have a lot of troops, right? So let your moderate spender, big spender do a lot of those work. If you're a free to play, I would say your 60 or 70% of your battles gotta be in the open field, and then 30% or 40% maybe, or maybe even 20% in the flag. We need you in the open field battle, right? There's a certain point in time where if it's a free-to-play player, you gotta say, okay, I'm done reinforcing. I gotta focus on open field, and then I'm just gonna do batch healing in here. So that's something that you should be thinking about. For whales in here, you can definitely dump a lot more troops into the flag. But definitely, I'm not saying that free-to-play should not help, right? Make sure you have your farm accounts as well. We saw on 47 they used their farm accounts dumping into the flags. They were much more dedicated to win at all cost. So my point of view in here, remember, is that if you're F2P, do some batch healing, and of course any tip that I give for F2P is as well as a very good tip for big spenders as well. Now you may say that I'm really putting F2P too much into the back in here, but like, no, seriously, we need players that gonna be able to control the field presence, right? If you are a big player and you are rallying a lot and defending, like what I'm doing, I have at least 2 marches that are out, right? I have 3 marches available, and then sometimes I will have to join a rally. Now I don't have much limited marches that I can bring into the open field, so keep that in mind. Now in the leadership, I would suggest to have a groupings as well of certain individuals that, let's say today you will have a group group A that is dedicated on field presence, and then group B is going to be dedicated on fighting into the flag, something like that. Just a general idea, something that you guys can do. More organization, I think. Biggest thing in here that I want to mention is that if you are in the leadership, make sure whenever you're giving directions into your players, make sure it's clear and concise. Let's say if you want them to defend a flag, make sure, hey, Shinchi, I want you to defend this flag at all costs and make sure that we don't lose this. Something like that. Then your player, he will feel a much more responsibility to defend one area. And he would do everything that he can to make sure, or she can, right, to make sure that that area is safe. And you gotta just make sure that your directions are clear, and you gotta trust the players that you give directions to. And when you delegate, you gotta make sure you trust them, and that they can fulfill the job that you are giving to them. So that's my advice. Just make sure that you are giving pretty good details. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys have learned something here. Thanks guys. See you guys later. Make sure to check out our previous videos. See you guys. Bye.